Veronica Leal was 29 years old. She lived in a stunning, ultramodern apartment in the heart of Mexico City's trendy Polanco district, a world of sleek design, rooftop pools, and a vibrant, cosmopolitan energy that mirrored her own dynamic presence. Her annual income was an impressive $900,000, a fortune built from her status as a top-tier international performer, lucrative brand endorsements throughout Latin America, and her own production company that created content specifically for the growing Spanish-speaking market. She was a superstar, known for her fiery, passionate performances, her exotic beauty, and a body that was a perfect blend of athletic power and sensual, womanly curves. But the woman who now commanded six-figure paychecks and the adoration of millions was a phoenix risen from the ashes of a girl named Valeria, whose story began not in glamour, but in the passionate, tumultuous, and ultimately destructive love affair that defined her youth. Valeria grew up in a colorful, working-class neighborhood in Guadalajara, Mexico. Her life was a vibrant tapestry of family, music, and the comforting chaos of a large, loving household. From a young age, she possessed a magnetic presence. She was of average height, but her body was a masterpiece of natural proportion, a tiny, cinched waist that served as the dramatic epicenter for her curvaceous hips and the firm, perfectly rounded fullness of her all-natural breasts. Her face was unforgettable, with high cheekbones, full lips that seemed perpetually curved in a knowing smile, and large, expressive dark brown eyes that could flash with fiery temper or melt with deep compassion in an instant. She was the star of her family, a gifted dancer, her body moving with an innate, rhythmic grace that made her the center of attention at every party. It was at a local dance hall, during a heated salsa competition, that she met Diego. He was older, a charismatic and handsome aspiring musician with a voice like velvet and a smile that promised endless adventure. He was the lead singer of a popular local band, and he saw in Valeria not just a beautiful girl, but a muse. Their connection was instantaneous and volcanic. He wrote songs for her, serenaded her beneath her balcony, and swept her off her feet with a romantic intensity that felt like something from a telenovela. She was 17, and he was her entire world. He called her his reina, his queen, and she believed him with every fiber of her being. For 2 years, she lived inside his orbit. She danced in his music videos, inspired his lyrics, and devoted herself to him completely. But Diego's charm masked a deep-seated insecurity and a possessive nature. What began as passionate devotion slowly twisted into controlling obsession. He didn't want her dancing with anyone else. He didn't like her talking to other men, even her cousins. He insisted she drop out of her design courses to travel with the band. The romantic intensity became a smothering prison. The arguments started, loud and dramatic, often ending with tearful reconciliations that felt as passionate as their lovemaking. He would accuse her of flirting, of wanting to leave him, his jealousy a dark shadow over their once perfect romance. The first time he shoved her against a wall during an argument, he was sobbing with remorse before she even hit the floor. He swore it would never happen again. She believed him. The dream was too beautiful to let go. The final, brutal end came when she secretly enrolled in a design class, a small act of reclaiming a piece of herself. Diego found her sketchbook. He erupted, accusing her of planning a life without him, of seeing another man in her class. The fight was terrifying. He smashed a guitar against the wall, then turned his fury on her, his hands closing around her throat as he screamed that if he couldn't have her, no one would. As she fought for air, seeing the genuine murderous rage in his eyes, the fantasy finally shattered. This was not love, it was a death sentence. In a moment of sheer, adrenaline-fueled survival, she kneed him hard in the groin, grabbed her purse, and ran. She didn't look back. She ran to the bus station, bought a ticket to Mexico City with the little money she had, and left her entire life, her family, her dreams, her identity as Diego's reina, behind in Guadalajara. Mexico City was a vast, anonymous labyrinth. She was alone, traumatized, and terrified Diego would find her. She found work as a waitress, but the money was a pittance. Her striking looks, however, were impossible to ignore. A regular customer, a fashion photographer, offered her a paid test shoot. The money was more than she made in a month. Standing in that studio, her body still aching from Diego's hands, she made a decision. Her body had been a source of pain and control in Diego's hands. Now, it would be her instrument of liberation. She would take control of the gaze. She chose the name Veronica Leal, Veronica for its elegance, Leal, meaning loyal in Spanish, as a bitter, ironic promise to herself to never again betray her own well-being for a man. Her first professional adult film shoot was an act of reclamation. The set was a business, with contracts and boundaries. The director was a woman who respected her. When the lights came on, she didn't feel like a victim, she felt like a warrior. She channeled all the passion, the fire, and the pain of her past into her performance. Her large, dark eyes didn't show fear, they projected a fierce, untamable energy. Her body, once an object of Diego's possession, moved with a powerful, confident sensuality that was entirely her own. The paycheck was $5,000. She held the cash in her hands and felt a surge of power so profound it washed away the last of her fear. She was free. The first part of her journey was a desperate escape from a toxic love. The second would be about conquering a new world and learning that her fiery heart could be a source of strength, not a vulnerability to be exploited. Veronica Leal's ascent in the adult film industry was as fiery and dramatic as her performances. She quickly became a sensation in the Latin American market, her unique blend of raw passion, undeniable beauty, and that powerful curvaceous physique making her an instant star. She was not a passive performer, she was an active, demanding presence on set, her large brown eyes constantly assessing, ensuring she was treated with the respect she had fought so hard to earn. She learned the business with a ruthless efficiency, negotiating her contracts, building her brand, and becoming one of the highest-paid performers in the industry. She moved from a shared apartment to her luxurious Polanco high-rise, a tangible symbol of her success and her absolute independence. She became the queen of a new domain, but she ruled from behind a wall of impenetrable strength. The trauma with Diego had taught her a brutal lesson: love was a dangerous vulnerability. She had flings with co-stars and wealthy admirers, but they were transactions of pleasure, never of the heart. She built a life so fiercely independent that the idea of a partner felt like a threat. She trusted her business manager, her agent, and herself. No one else. Her heart, once given so completely to Diego, was now locked away in a vault, and she had thrown away the key. Professionally, she expanded her empire, launching her own production company to create content that reflected her vision: passionate, high quality, and empowering for the performers. She became a hero to young women in Latin America, a symbol of taking control of one's sexuality and destiny. Yet, in her quiet moments, staring out over the glittering Mexico City skyline, a profound loneliness would sometimes settle over her. The fortress she had built was secure, but it was also, at times, incredibly quiet. The crack in her armor came in the form of Mateo, a renowned Argentine film director hired to direct a high-budget, cinematic project for her company. He was everything Diego was not: quiet, thoughtful, and utterly secure in his own talent. He didn't try to flatter or conquer her. He challenged her. During pre-production, he questioned her choices, debated narrative structure with her, and treated her not as a star, but as a creative collaborator. He was fascinated by the intelligence behind her fiery persona. He saw the sharp businesswoman, the storyteller, the survivor. Initially, Veronica was resistant, her defenses immediately rising. She expected manipulation, a power play. But Mateo was consistent, respectful, and brilliant. Their creative disagreements over coffee stretched for hours, becoming the most stimulating conversations she had had in years. He wasn't trying to win, he was trying to create the best possible art, and he valued her input. He saw the woman, Valeria, who loved design and story, buried beneath the brand of Veronica Leal. Letting down her guard was a terrifying, slow-motion freefall. The first time he kissed her, after wrapping the film, she felt a panic so sharp it was almost pain. It was the vulnerability, the surrender of control. But his kiss wasn't possessive. It was an invitation. It was patient. He knew her story. He had pieced it together from the fragments she let slip. He didn't promise her a fairy tale. He promised her a partnership. "You don't need a king, Veronica," he told her one night, his hand gently holding hers. "You are the queen." I'm just asking if I can stand beside the throne. Learning to trust him was the hardest role she had ever played. It required a faith she thought had been extinguished. There were moments she pushed him away, testing him, waiting for the jealousy, the control, the monster to appear. It never did. His love was a quiet, steady constant, like the foundation of a building. It didn't seek to dim her fire. It provided a hearth where it could burn safely. Now, at 29, Veronica Leal is a woman who has integrated the shattered pieces of her past. She is still a powerhouse, running her company and commanding top dollar as a performer. The fire in her dark brown eyes is now tempered with a hard-won serenity. The fortress in Polanco now has a trusted consort. Mateo shares her life and her creative vision, a true partner who respects her sovereignty. Her story is one of rising from the ashes of a destructive love, not by building walls, but by becoming so powerful that she could finally afford to let them down. She reclaimed her body, built an empire, and in a final act of incredible courage, reclaimed her heart, learning that the greatest strength lies not in isolation, but in the choice to trust again.